So J. Cole, who is a rapper, says he felt terrible after releasing a song aimed at fellow rapper Kendrick Lamar and vowed to pull the track off streaming services. He said, "I ain't gonna lie to y'all. The past 2 days felt terrible," he told an audience at the Dreamville Festival in North Carolina. "I damn near had a relapse," he said. Now, it's not quite Israel-Palestine, but it's pretty big news in the world of hip-hop. So, joining me now to discuss the ramifications is hip-hop aficionado Lin Mei. Thank you very much for joining us.
I don't know about that. I think many fans of hip-hop, especially this week, would massively disagree with me because they're all against my opinion on this.
OK, so break it down for us.
Yeah, so quick overview. I studied hip-hop music. I went to the Brit School. And initially, and it's important people know this, initially hip-hop was used as a political voice when a group of people could not have an opinion, could not have the same voting rights. They were constantly barraged with hatred and racism. So they used music and hip-hop to express themselves. Fast forward to now, we have, like, excuse the term, but trash like Cardi B, who is not representative, in my opinion, of what hip-hop's supposed to be.
Now, worse has been said on this show.
I'm so disappointed with the way hip-hop, not all hip-hop, but the way hip-hop is going and how it conveys a group of people. But with J. Cole, he is probably one of the first who, because they were going through this rap battle where they go low in terms of they'll diss your mum, like they'll diss your family, they'll bring up horrendous things about you. And he was against a guy called Kendrick Lamar, who's a really good lyricist. These are two rappers that are fantastic poets and lyricists. And it was his turn to turn around and essentially diss Kendrick Lamar. And he said, "I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do the good thing of what sits well with my soul, and I am not going to go against you off camera, off screen. You're like my brother." And loads of hip-hop artists were like, "Don't be a wuss, this is pathetic, we want to see..." It's similar to, I would liken it, you know when you see a boxing match, and a good boxing match is not good enough. You want to see the trash talk leading up to it, don't you? You want to see people almost getting up and fighting when they shouldn't be. And that's essentially the same sort of, like, narrative that has come out of this hip-hop battle. People want to see blood lyrically.
So, and you've used that trash term again twice now.
I know, naughty.
But is it then therefore not genuine? It's just the way that you sell, I mean, it's not even records these days, that you keep the interest in your product, your streams, is by having a pretend fight? How many of these fights are real as well?
This is the problem, because on one hand, it's even been discussed in Parliament, on one hand, the police or the government have really possibly spoken about taking away the free speech of drill rappers, trap rappers, the ones that are really violent, whereas a lot of people say this is just entertainment. But if you look at drill, which is like a subculture of hip-hop, it's so damaging. Recently we have seen over 50 people, drill rappers, and not just ones that think they're drill rappers in their bedrooms, ones that actually have a huge following, either in prison for long stretches or dead. So this can't be seen as entertainment anymore. But if we go to people like J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar, the argument will be said, well, they're never going to kill each other. They're conscious rappers, first of all, which is more the poetic style of hip-hop. So why would you not want to see that from them? So to answer your initial question, sometimes these arguments do get nasty and men's ego really gets in the way of it. Just for example, a lot of people that used to get involved in football hooliganism, sometimes it would just be a bit of a punch-up after the pub, you'd hug it out and whatever, but sometimes it used to get really violent and nasty, and the same can be said for hip-hop.
Well, you've turned up on a show about free speech, so that seems the interesting angle for me, though, that surely an argument could be made that regardless of whatever the lyrics are, regardless of whatever is said in a song or a piece of entertainment, the fault happens afterwards. If ever anything then goes from a piece of entertainment to a criminal court case or, someone being injured, isn't someone else got the blame, not the music? No,
because it's actually these artists. So a long time ago, I was working with young people in Tottenham, and there was this back and forth with rappers, with drill rappers, and one of their egos got really bruised, and they got a gun, got in a car, went to shoot one of the rappers, and it hit a young girl. And she's dead now. So this is the ramification which can come about from some of these, arguments or rap battles, but not when we're looking at J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the ones like Drake, because right now Drake's going off with one with like Rick Ross and
trash.
some others. I know.
Okay.
Yeah, those won't be damaging, but my argument is there's a lot of young people, especially, you know, that would look at that and they will take it not just as entertainment.
OK, let's bring in the free speech panel here. Paul, do you reckon we should be banning a type of music if I overboil it down to make it seem like a simpler question?
No, that was fascinating for me because I didn't, believe it or not, know most of that.
Really?
It kind of brings Blur and Oasis into perspective for me. But no, I don't. I mean, I'm sorry to disagree with you, but because I'm a free speech advocate, I think all speech should be free. Now, this is what you were getting at. It's about the responsibility of people. Now, these are often, from my understanding, young men as well, full to the brim with ego and bravado, and that gives them a status. And if that status is damaged, they can overreact. It doesn't happen in any other form of art that I can think of. This is not happening in country music, is it?
Well, have you ever seen the Amadeus film? Those
Yes,
two got pretty tasty.
They did get pretty tasty.
But let me, sorry to interject, let me pose a question though. You're right, it doesn't happen in any other genre. However, things like heavy metal or certain types of rock music started to promote a lot of suicidal lyrics. And
Marilyn Manson was definitely in trouble for that.
And this is the problem. The difference is when it comes to a certain demographic of people, let's say it starts to affect middle-class white people and their children, where they're seeing more suicides online, all of a sudden, OK, free speech is OK for that demographic, but this is affecting our children. So what would you say about promoting suicide to young people in rock music?
That's a really good question. You should sit there.
Trash.
He's just on the part trash.
We're friends, actually. Aren't we? Not anymore. No, it's a great question, but I don't change my stance. And it's interesting you say that, because as I was talking about it, I wasn't really thinking about the demographic, but I know exactly what you mean, because the louder voices are those middle-class white people. And despite my look, I don't consider myself middle-class. I'm definitely white. But I don't...
You don't look middle-class either.
Oh, no, what does middle-class look like?
I don't, Steve. Cressida, not me. But
what have I done? I thought you were saying Cressida.
No. You said middle class to me.
Thank you.
But anyway, you pass the con.
Well, it's the same problem in both cases, isn't it? Who's doing the regulating? And surely it's each case on its merits, isn't it? You don't just ban a genre.
No, you don't. I mean, that's not really what you're saying, though, is it? What you're saying is there is a duty of care.
Yeah, I'm just saying, specifically with this discussion, I'm not necessarily banning, but why is there such a lot of hatred for a man who usually would have trash-talked back to stand up and say, you know, this doesn't sit well with me and I love this guy? Where everyone was to say, oh, you wimp. Like, I just think it's so damaging where it's good to have that alpha masculinity, but it's also good that if we look at, I think his name was Cody Fisher, the semi-professional footballer who died in a club because someone stabbed him. Now, he was stabbed because he stepped on someone's trainers. This is the level of ego we're seeing from a lot of young men who don't have any output of being able to channel that energy, and a lot of it is stemming from cultures like football, hip-hop, these sorts of things. So I'm just saying it's refreshing to see a man who could have easily wiped the floor with his lyrics say, I don't have to. You know?
That is interesting, isn't it? Because I took this interview in the wrong direction. It's not about pointing out the areas of concern. Actually, this story is saying, look, music and art can be giving you an example of how to live a slightly better life.
That's free speech. Saying, sorry. I'm sorry, I choose not to fight back because I love you. It may look like a wimpy thing to do, but it's still free speech.
You know what? I love you, Paul. Sorry about earlier. Thank you very much for joining us, Lin Mei.